Dr. HFY adjusted his 3 sets of optical enhancers, his bioluminescent tentacles twitching with barely contained irritation as he reviewed the latest data streams from that insignificant blue marble called Earth. As the youngest ever chief medical observer for the Galactic Medical Council, he considered this assignment beneath his considerable talents. Monitoring primitive species was usually reserved for fresh graduates, not someone who had revolutionized quantum cellular regeneration across 7 dimensions. Another human medical breakthrough, his assistant, Nurse BVR-TL, chirped excitedly, her crystalline exoskeleton gleaming under the antimicrobial lights of the observation deck. They've developed a new treatment for. Let me guess, HFY interrupted, his voice dripping with enough sarcasm to fill a small moon. They've discovered that regular exercise and balanced nutrition contribute to overall health. Fascinating. He waved one of his auxiliary appendages dismissively. Next, they'll be telling us that sleep helps recovery. Groundbreaking stuff. The advanced medical facility, floating invisibly in Earth's orbit, was equipped with technology so sophisticated it could monitor individual cellular mutations across an entire planet. Yet here he was, watching a species that still thought opening people up and physically removing organs was an acceptable medical practice. Barbarians with slightly better toys, he thought. Actually, BVR-TL continued, undeterred. They've managed to reduce their average cancer mortality rate by another 12% this year. By poisoning themselves slightly less than the cancer, HFY rolled all 6 of his eyes. Truly revolutionary. Please do inform the Council that humans have mastered the art of selective toxicity. I'm sure they'll want to award them a medal for catching up to where we were 5 millennia ago. The conversation might have continued in this vein had the facility's quantum sensors not suddenly erupted in a cacophony of alerts. HFY's bioluminescence shifted from smug azure to concerned violet as he absorbed the incoming data. This can't be right, he muttered, all traces of sarcasm evaporating. Run a full spectrum analysis. The holographic displays filled with cascading data streams, each more alarming than the last. A pathogen, unlike anything recorded in the Council's vast medical archives, was spreading across the galaxy. Initial reports showed it had already decimated populations on 3 worlds, somehow adapting to each species' biology with impossible speed. By the first medicine, HFY whispered, his tentacles now a pale white of genuine fear. It's affecting every species it encounters. Even the silicon-based life forms on Crixtal aren't immune. Sir BVR-TL's voice had lost its usual cheerfulness. Preliminary projections indicate the pathogen's likely next vector of spread, and she paused, her crystalline structure dimming slightly. It's Earth. For the first time in his distinguished career, Dr. HFY found himself hoping that those primitive humans might surprise him. Because if this pathogen was as bad as the data suggested, they'd need every scrappy, unorthodox, barbaric trick in their primitive medical arsenal to have even a chance of survival. And somewhere, in the back of his highly evolved mind, a tiny voice whispered that maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what might save them. 87 days, Dr. HFY announced to the assembled Galactic Medical Council, his tentacles now mottled gray of grim satisfaction. That's my official prediction for how long it will take until humans start experiencing total societal collapse from the pathogen. The council chamber erupted in a chorus of disagreeing clicks, whistles, and psychic projections. Too Generous hummed council member VRSK, her insectoid mandibles clicking. I calculate 63 days, accounting for their primitive quarantine procedures. You're all missing something crucial, Chairman Kulax interjected, his gaseous form swirling thoughtfully. These are humans. They'll probably try to shoot the virus with their projectile weapons first. I say 50 days tops. The collective alien laughter was interrupted by Nurse BVR-TL's urgent entrance. Sir, the pathogen has made planetfall. First cases reported in a place called Cleveland. Cleveland's HFY accessed Earth's DataNet. Ah, how fitting. Even their pathogens have questionable taste. Dr. Maya Patel stared at the lab results, her sleep-deprived eyes widening as she ran the test for the 4th time. She grabbed her phone, ignoring the 17 missed calls from the WHO, CDC, and what appeared to be an unusual number claiming to be from Galaxy 1555555. Kenzo, she barked into the phone. Get your tea obsessed behind to the lab, and bring Red Bull, all of it. Dr. Kenzo Tanaka, notorious for treating his body like a caffeinated chemistry experiment, arrived 20 minutes later with 2 cases of energy drinks and a shirt that read, "Keep calm and try turning your immune system off and on again." What's so urgent it interrupted my morning ritual of contemplating how many espresso shots would technically count as a lethal dose, he asked, cracking open his first Red Bull of the day. Maya pointed to her microscope. This virus? It's not just adapting to different hosts, it's learning. And before you say that's impossible. Nothing's impossible, Kenzo interrupted, adjusting his microscope. We learned that when Dave from accounting survived eating that mystery leftovers from the break room fridge last month. The lab door burst open as Dr. Sarah O'Connor from the coup rushed in, tablet in hand. Please tell me you have something. The death toll just hit 100,000 globally, and we're seeing cases in species we didn't even know could get sick. There's reports of pet rocks developing symptoms in Peru. Maya and Kenzo shared a look. We have. A theory, Maya said carefully. It's either brilliant or completely insane. Those are literally all of your theories, Sarah sighed. Remember your what if we treat cancer like a bad Windows installation proposal. Which work, Kenzo defended. Sometimes you really do need to Ctrl-Alt-Delete your cells. Maya pulled up her latest data. This pathogen? It's not just a virus, it's like. Imagine if evolution took steroids, got a PhD in bioengineering, and decided to speedrun through adaptive mutations. And here's the kicker, Kenzo added, bouncing slightly from his fourth Red Bull. It's using the host's own immune system as a template to improve itself. The better the immune system, the deadlier it becomes. Above Earth's atmosphere, Dr. HFY watched the humans' pitiful attempts to combat the disease with growing disdain. The Galactic Medical Council had already tried every known treatment across 27 dimensions. They'd attempted quantum viral suppression, temporal antibody regression, and even asked the consciousness collective of Betelgeuse to meditate the pathogen into submission. Nothing worked. Sir BVR Thel reported, human casualties are mounting, but something's odd. Their infection patterns don't match our models. Of course they don't, HFY muttered. They probably haven't even tried proper psychic sterilization yet. What are they doing instead? According to these reports, Dr. Maya Patel's team is attempting to. Oh, this can't be right, BVR Thel's crystalline structure flickered in confusion. They're trying to gaslighting the virus into an existential crisis. HFY's tentacles turned puke green. They're what? And someone named Kenzo has suggested, quote, treating the immune system like a computer system and running an antivirus program, but like for real. For the first time in recorded history, a member of the Galactic Medical Council facepalmed with all their appendages simultaneously. Meanwhile, in the lab, Maya's team had expanded to include Dr. Rodriguez, a virologist who spoke 6 languages, including sarcasm, Dr. Chen, a immunologist who treated research like extreme sports, and Dave from accounting. Nobody knew why he was there, but his coffee runs were legendary. Traditional approaches aren't working, Maya announced to her team. This thing adapts too fast. So we're going to try something that would probably get us laughed out of every medical conference from here to Stockholm. Business as usual, then Kenzo quipped, now suspended upside down from a lab chair for enhanced blood flow to the brain. We're going to trick the virus, Maya continued, into thinking it successfully hijacked the immune system, but actually lead it into a cellular cul-de-sac, where it'll effectively delete itself, trying to become too perfect. Sarah stared at her. That's brilliant, suggested Rodriguez. Insane, offered Chen. Probably going to get us fired, Dave contributed helpfully. All of the above, Sarah concluded. Start immediately. As the human team launched into their unorthodox approach, Dr. HFY watched with a mixture of horror and fascination. These humans were treating one of the deadliest pathogens in galactic history like it was a bad computer program or a confused teenager. Surely this would end in disaster, right? 3 weeks into what the internet had dubbed the everything plague, #NotPicky, Dr. Maya Patel's lab had transformed into something between a cutting-edge research facility and a college dorm during finals week. Empty Red Bull cans formed a miniature cityscape on one bench, while Kenzo's wall of crazy ideas whiteboard had grown to occupy an entire wall. Okay, run this by me again, Sarah said, massaging her temples. You want to do what? Maya gestured enthusiastically at a diagram that looked like someone had crossbred a flow chart with a modern art installation. So you know how this virus is basically using our immune system's playbook to evolve? Well, what if we give it the wrong playbook? Like showing up to a basketball game with a football strategy guide Dave offered from his corner, where he was somehow doing both viral culture calculations and the lab's tax returns simultaneously. Exactly, Maya pointed at Dave with her laser pointer. accidentally activating it and causing Dr. Rodriguez to dive for cover out of habit. Our immune systems are too efficient, too organized. The virus takes one look at them and goes, "Oh, neat, let me copy that but make it evil, but what if?" What if we made our immune systems look completely bonkers? Kenzo finished, currently spinning in his chair while balancing a pencil on his nose. Like intentionally chaotic. Up in orbit, Dr. Zixva was having what his species called a multiple limbic meltdown. They're doing what he shrieked, his tentacles cycling through colors so fast he looked like a disco ball. BVR Thel checked her readings again. According to these scans, they're introducing controlled chaos into their immune responses. They're making their immune systems behave erratically on purpose. That's not medicine, Zixva sputtered. That's biological jazz. Back in the lab, Maya's team had made a breakthrough. It started when Chen accidentally contaminated a sample with his lunch curry, and instead of dying, the infected cells showed an unusual response. The spice. Confused at Maya stared at the results. The virus tried to adapt to the sudden capsaicin introduction and basically gave itself the molecular equivalent of hiccups. "You mean my addiction to ghost peppers might actually save humanity?" Rodriguez grinned. "My mother owes me an apology." The team worked around the clock, identifying more substances and conditions that could throw the virus off its game. Coffee, that mysterious hot sauce Dave brought from home, even Kenzo's questionable energy drink combinations, anything that made human biology seem completely unpredictable. It's like Maya explained to an increasingly bewildered who panel, "We're making our immune systems look like that one friend everyone has who somehow survives on pizza, in chaos, and the virus is the confused health nut trying to make sense of it." The Galactic Medical Council was in uproar. Species from across the galaxy watched in horror as humans began intentionally introducing controlled substances into their systems to make their immune responses more unpredictable. They're drinking what now Chairman Kelax's gaseous form condensed in shock. Something called a triple red-eye monster nitro cold brew with extra everything, BVR Thel reported. Dr. Tanaka claims it makes his cells too jittery for the virus to read. And it's working. Zixva's tentacles were tied in actual knots from stress. Indeed it was. The first success came from a patient in Brisbane who recovered after what his chart described as aggressive application of Vegemite and spite. More cases followed: a New Yorker who beat the virus while subsisting entirely on bodega coffee and determination, a Brazilian teenager who confused the pathogen with their energy drink consumption, a British grandmother who reportedly annoyed the virus to death with tea and passive-aggressive comments. Maya's team refined their approach, developing what they called the Chaos Protocol. The treatment involved carefully calibrated combinations of substances that made human biology appear completely random to the virus. Patients were prescribed regulated doses of spicy food, caffeine, and other compounds that made their immune systems behave like a customer service line, technically functional but impossible to predict or navigate. "We're essentially making our immune systems look like they were designed by a committee of sleep-deprived college students," Kenzo explained to a medical journal. "The virus takes one look at this chaos and goes, nope, too much work to adapt to this nonsense." Dr. Zixva watched in growing existential despair as human recovery rates began to climb. His latest report to the council read simply, "They're healing themselves by being as weird as possible. I need a vacation." The turning point came when Maya's team discovered what they called the Murphy's Law mechanism, the human body's bizarre ability to survive despite, or sometimes because of, doing exactly what it shouldn't. "Look at these scans," Maya pointed out during a late-night session. "The virus is trying to optimize itself based on our immune response, but we're giving it so many contradictory signals that it's basically getting buffer overflow errors. We're basically DDoSing the virus with chaos," Chen summarized, while carefully adding hot sauce to his midnight ramen. Sarah, who had long since given up understanding the methodology and focused on the results, just nodded. "So we're treating a deadly pathogen by being extremely human at it." "Exactly," Maya beamed. "We're weaponizing our weirdness." As recovery rates hit 25%, then 40%, then 60%, the Galactic Medical Council was forced to revise their extinction timeline projections. Humans weren't just surviving, they were turning their seemingly random and chaotic biology into an advantage. Nurse BVR Thiel found Dr. Zixva in his observation pod, watching the humans with what appeared to be horrified respect. "Sir," she ventured, "should I update our medical databases with this treatment approach?" Zixva's tentacles had settled into a shade of resigned acceptance. File it under humans. Do not attempt to understand, just document. The humans, blissfully unaware of their audience, continued their chaotic march toward recovery, armed with nothing but science, spite, and questionable lifestyle choices. The moment of breakthrough came, appropriately enough, at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, fueled by what Kenzo later described in his official report as enough caffeine to give anxiety to anxiety. Maya had been staring at the same dataset for so long that the numbers had started doing the Macarena across her screen when she noticed something extraordinary. She blinked, slapped herself twice, and then screamed loud enough to wake Dave, who had been napping under his desk, his natural habitat. "Everyone get in here now," she hollered, sending a mass text that consisted entirely of exclamation points and coffee cup emojis. Up in orbit, Dr. Zexva's monitoring systems went haywire. "What in the name of controlled clinical trials are they doing now?" he demanded, his tentacles frazzled from weeks of watching human science in ways that defied all rational medical practices. Sir BVR Thiel reported, her crystalline structure vibrating with excitement. "You need to see these readings." The lab had erupted into controlled chaos as Maya's team assembled. Rodriguez arrived wearing mismatched shoes, Chen appeared with a half-eaten burrito still in hand, and Kenzo somehow materialized upside down from the ceiling vent. "Look at this," Maya pointed at her screen, bouncing with excitement. "We've been going about this all wrong. We weren't just confusing the virus, we were teaching our immune systems to troll it." The data showed something unprecedented. Human immune systems weren't just fighting back, they were memeing on a cellular level. The chaos protocol hadn't just made human biology unpredictable, it had turned their immune responses into the biological equivalent of a shitpost. In the council chamber, Dr. Zexva attempted to explain what he was witnessing. "The humans," he began, his tentacles twitching uncontrollably, "have somehow turned their immune systems into practical jokers." "Impossible," declared council member VRSK. "Watch," Zexva commanded, pulling up a cellular visualization. "When the virus attempts to adapt to their immune response, instead of fighting it directly, their cells, they rickroll it." The council chamber erupted in confused chittering. Back in the lab, Maya was on a roll. "See these protein markers? Our immune systems aren't just attacking the virus, they're baiting it. Every time it tries to adapt, our cells throw out a completely different response pattern. It's like when you click a link expecting one thing but get something completely different," Kenzo supplied, now somehow balancing on one hand while reading data upside down. "Exactly," Maya pointed excitedly. "We've turned our entire immune system into a biological bait and switch." The success stories started pouring in from around the globe. A teenager in Tokyo recovered after what doctors described as aggressive application of meme culture and instant ramen. An elderly Italian grandmother defeated the virus by, in her words, disappointing it like I disappoint my children by putting pineapple on pizza. A group of college students in Minnesota recovered simultaneously after their bodies apparently convinced the virus that it was finals week. Dr. Zexva watched in mounting horror as human recovery rates skyrocketed. "This defies everything we know about medicine," he wailed to BVR Thel. "They're not treating the disease, they're trolling it to death." Sir BVR Thel's crystalline form sparkled with what might have been amusement. "Should I update our medical databases to include meme therapy as a valid treatment protocol?" The Galactic Medical Council convened an emergency session as humans worldwide began recovering at an astronomical rate. The chamber was in chaos. "They can't do this," shrieked one council member, their psychic projection glitching in distress. "This violates at least 73 laws of proper medical procedure." "Where in the medical textbooks," demanded another, "does it say you can cure a disease by confusing it to death?" Chairman Klax's gaseous form had condensed into what appeared to be a stress ball. "Has anyone checked if this violates the laws of physics?" Meanwhile, Maya's team had refined their treatment into what they officially termed Protocol No U, but which the internet had already dubbed Vibe Check Therapy. The official medical paper, soon to be published in every major journal, included such groundbreaking sections as weaponized chaos theory and immunology, and how to make your immune system ghost a virus. The beauty of it, Maya explained to a stunned WHO panel, is that it's actually incredibly simple. We're not fighting the virus, we're making it fight itself. Every time it tries to adapt to our immune response, we change the rules of engagement. It's like trying to win a game where the other player keeps inventing new rules. And this works. How, asked a bewildered CDC representative. Kenzo, who had finally returned to right-side-up orientation, jumped in. You know how if you think too hard about thinking, you can't think anymore? We're making the virus do that, but with evolution. It's trying so hard to adapt to our chaos that it basically blue screens itself. The recovery rate hit 99% as humans worldwide embraced their inner chaos. Hospitals reported success with treatment protocols that included prescribed doses of dad jokes, strategic application of food that shouldn't work but did, and what one doctor termed aggressive amounts of spite. In orbit, Dr. Zixva had given up trying to maintain his professional composure. His tentacles had tied themselves into what appeared to be a DNA double helix of frustration as he compiled his final report. The humans have defeated what we considered an incurable pathogen by turning their immune systems into the biological equivalent of an internet troll. They didn't just think outside the box, they convinced the box it never existed in the first place. I am simultaneously impressed and concerned for the future of galactic medicine, requesting immediate reassignment to a nice quiet research station studying moss. Any moss, please. The Galactic Medical Council's official response to humanity's success was eventually recorded as a single line. Sometimes the best medical practice is to accept that you don't understand why something works, especially when it involves humans. And in Maya's lab, now decorated with printouts of their cellular data, turned into memes, the team celebrated in true human fashion by ordering every type of pizza available, including ones that made Rodriguez question his faith in humanity, and debating whether they could apply their chaos theory to other diseases. You know what this means? Maya grinned, holding up a slice of pineapple anchovy marshmallow pizza that Kenzo had specially ordered to maintain the chaos energy. That we've revolutionized modern medicine, Sarah suggested. That we've proven chaos is a valid scientific methodology, Chen offered. That we can write off energy drinks as a medical expense, Kenzo hoped. That we're getting audit-proof tax deductions, Dave calculated. Maya's grin widened. All of the above. But more importantly, we've proven that sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to be so weird that the problem gives up trying to understand you. Somewhere in space, an alien doctor's tentacles were still tied in knots. The day humanity officially shared their chaos protocol with the galactic community was marked by what would later be described in medical texts as the great collective facepalm. Representatives from over 3,000 species watched in stunned silence as Dr. Maya Patel, wearing a lab coat decorated with memes, presented their solution. So she concluded cheerfully, that's how we defeated the virus, by essentially turning our immune systems into that one friend who never answers texts directly and somehow still gets everything done. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of Dr. Zixva's tentacles slowly unraveling from their stress knots. Let me get this straight, Chairman Klax's gaseous form pulsed incredulously. Your official medical recommendation is for other species to embrace chaos. Well, Kenzo chimed in via hologram, currently doing handstands for better brain flow. We prefer to call it strategic unpredictability with a side of controlled mayhem. The implementation across species was interesting. The crystalline beings of Proxima Centauri cured themselves by randomly rearranging their lattice structures while playing what they understood to be human music, mostly kazoo covers of classical songs. The psychic collective of Beta Reticuli recovered by thinking in emojis. Even the silicon-based life forms of Crixtal managed to survive by temporarily converting their binary thinking into what they termed maybe-nary. Dr. Zixva, watching it all unfold from his observation deck, found himself experiencing an emotion his species had evolved beyond millennia ago: humility. BVR Thel, he mused, his tentacles now a contemplative shade of mauve. Perhaps there's something to be said for being unpredictable. Sir BVR Thel's crystalline form sparkled with what might have been amusement. Are you suggesting that chaos has a place in medical science? I'm suggesting, he sighed, that sometimes the most advanced solution is to embrace being completely ridiculous. The Galactic Medical Council was forced to create an entirely new department, the Institute for Human-Inspired Medical Chaos, IHEMIC, or as it was informally known, the What If We Tried Something Crazy division. The first joint human-alien medical conference was a sight to behold. Dr. Maya Patel stood at the podium beside a now considerably more relaxed Dr. Zixva, presenting their combined research on what they called the chaos theory of everything. And in conclusion, Maya announced to the packed auditorium, sometimes the best way to solve a medical crisis is to channel your inner Florida man. I still don't understand half of what they do, Zixva admitted later in his personal log, but I'm beginning to think that's the point. The humans have taught us that sometimes understanding isn't as important as succeeding, and that dignity has no place in survival. The medical textbooks were rewritten to include chapters with titles like Emergency Applications of Absurdity and When in Doubt, Channel Human Chaos. The galaxy's most prestigious medical schools now included mandatory classes in adaptive randomness and strategic unpredictability. In Maya's lab, now an official galactic research center, the team had pinned their favorite headline to the wall: Humans defeat universal death by being too weird to kill. You know what the best part is? Maya said to HFY during one of his now regular visits to Earth. We're probably going to solve the next crisis by being even weirder. HFY's tentacles shifted through several colors before settling on a resigned pink. That's what worries me. Worried will make you question everything you know about medical science again, she grinned. No, he replied, watching Kenzo teach a group of alien medical students how to properly balance on their heads while conducting cellular analysis. I'm worried you'll make it make sense. The final addition to the Galactic Medical Council's official records regarding Earth contained a single, simple warning: when facing an impossible medical situation, consider the human approach. But be warned, understanding their methods may cause headaches, existential crises, and a disturbing appreciation for chaos. Side effects may include success. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, countless alien doctors now kept a special emergency protocol in their medical kits, right next to their quantum stabilizers and temporal scalpels. It was a simple note that read, when all else fails, ask yourself, what would a human do? The answer, invariably, was something completely insane that worked anyway. Just don't ask them to explain why. Some mysteries of the universe are better left unsolved.